Hello, everyone. Hello. Yeah, that's right. It's Rail Matter. I think hopefully I'm here, and hopefully you can all hear me. Ina's here, Richard, Barry, Adam. Hello, Rigor Mortis. Let's do this thing. It's episode 206, California's Hydrogen Train Hell. Wait a minute, why is none of this working? There we go, that's right. I've got to click that button, then click this button over here. Also, just check that this is working, because this is important. Let's go for... Hello and welcome to... yeah, no, that's fine. Good. We need that sort of thing to happen because we need some things to join us. Right, so enough of my waffling. Hello, Hannah. Hello, Solace, Benyon. They're marvellous. There's lots of people joining us to say hello. Hello, Rob. Hello, dear friends. Friends, comrades, countrymen, etc., all that rubbish. Let's get on with this, shall we? First, let me get the whack-em out, because remember this? We used to look at travel trends. Well, the numbers have the DFT have finished what they believe is an update to the data, and so bearing in mind that we kind of reached this, the rail here in blue reached this sort of over 100% rolling average, reached the peak. Rolling averages are always lower than the spikes because you get rid of the spikes and the troughs. So we did reach, even with the rolling average, 28-day rolling average, we reached over the 100% mark in the old data set. Well, the new data set is here. I've tidied it up a bit and got rid of bikes because with the data set is no longer being updated. So we get rid of that. We're just looking at cars and taxis, bus services, non-TfL, and National Rail services. So National Rail services now in white to make it a bit clearer for us. And what can we see? Well, this is the whole thing. This is the 28-day rolling average. And we're now into kind of reaching into March 2024. And what do we have here? Well, you can see that the new data set has got rid of that 100% spike, so that's gone. But also, interestingly enough, you can see that the spike has gone for road as well. The road has only pitched above 100% once in 28-day rolling average. So, but yeah, so there we are. We'll perhaps keep looking at this and seeing what's going on. You can see there's this sort of overall, I'd say, macro trend that appears to be reaching an asymptote at 100%, which you'd expect given that the government is just not doing anything about, firstly, there's an enormous cost of living crisis, which is going to be knocking everything. Plus also, as you might have noticed, our rail network is in crisis, and that there's only so long that can go on for before you're going to start hitting demand. So, or at least hitting ridership. So anyway, we'll keep following that, see if there's anything interesting to read into it. What happened to the March 23rd-ish dip? March 23 dip. That there is Christmas 22-23. I need to play with the axis down here. I kind of didn't get around to tidying up. I'll probably change where that sits and so on and fix it. Anyway, yeah, that was Christmas, I think. And likewise, this one is the Christmas drop, and this one. So there's this drop every kind of Christmas, and this is the most recent Christmas drop. So you get this sort of drop at Christmas. I have excluded. Sorry, they have reintegrated the Elizabeth Line data into this these figures, which is why I've now brought this back, because they have allegedly reintegrated Elizabeth Line into the numbers, as they rightly should. So there we go. That's that. Now, before we crack on with the episode, we must shout out. This is episode 206, so we must shout out the TOPS class 206. Here it is. It's not a thumper. This is a tadpole. Why is it a tadpole? Because it's a weird bodge of the old DMU thumper stock attached to an EMU driving trailer, which has obviously got this has got the Hastings body profile here, and this has got the more common Mark 1 body shape, and they just stitched them together and drove them around, and they politely called them tadpoles. I could think of other names they might have got and indeed possibly received, but also this photo is very vibesy. It's got a nice rail alphabet here, which is lovely. But also it's got this advert for Simmons Land Agents, which is Simmons Estate Agents on Wote Street in Basingstoke. There we go. And some very nice reballasting that's gone on here as well, as opposed to the platform track, which is in a bit of a mess. Anyway, I digress. Very nice vibesy picture. There you can see this BR blue, rather fetching looking. What's interesting about these is these are in BR blue grey, whereas I presume the although you can't tell, maybe the driving trailer, the driving trailer is also in BR blue grey. You can't tell because it's a bit further back, but also possibly it's in just the suburban full blue. Hard to tell. Anyway, yes, it's DEMU. There we go. So, without further ado, well, there we go. What can I say? I've audio described as best I can. That's a remark. You often get people saying that things look grim back in the 70s and 80s, but actually this looks quite pleasant, quite smart, quite well looked after. Lovely. If a little sleepy. On with the show, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Rail Natter. As the intercity 225 fades away, sorry about the audio levels there. I was like, oh yeah, I made it quieter a second ago because I'm rubbish at podcasts. Let's get going. It's news time. Actually, before the news, I need to briefly go big face. Hello, it's me. Oh, is that really the framing? I suppose it is. Yeah, I'm just not very close to the camera. Hello, everyone. Shout out to Matthew Mertland and Richard Seville, who, after last week's episode, very kindly sent me their book, C-Link and Beyond, the definitive history of C-Link. I haven't read through it yet, although I flicked through it and there's some very lovely pictures in it. But I'm very interested. They pick up some of the freight stuff, so I'm very interested to see if we can trace the freight story to see what happened. There's loads of really nice, very, very fetching book, lots of lovely pictures and lots of detailed history. Go in and have a look at that. I'd be interested to see how it compares to my ad hoc history. But thank you very much indeed to Matthew and Richard for sending that through. Very kind. It's nice when people send me free stuff because I'm Scottish and free stuff is cool. No, everyone likes free stuff. No, I'm here. Look, I'm attached. People are saying they thought they hadn't seen my face in ages. Very British Railway aesthetic. Yes, it is. Right, so as I drink some water out of a stolen pint glass, let us get back to the news. I'm going to put my miniature face in the top corner because it is a news app. Hello. There we are. Right. ROSCO racket. This is standard fare for Rail Natter. You're all familiar with this sort of thing. But it's been, it's increasingly entering the mainstream. Here's Gwyn Topham of The Guardian pointing out the fact that train leasing companies, the ROSCOs, have seen their profits treble in a year with more than £400 million paid in dividends in 2022-23. It's funny, isn't it? 22-23, a year when we're saying, oh, the railway, hemorrhaging money, and yet £410 million of money went to shareholders of organisations, companies that simply do not need to exist. They are middlemen, rent-seeking middlemen organisations who own the trains. There is no point. I had someone on the Twitter. Saying why if it's a free market, if there's other companies can come in and challenge that. It's not, the rolling stock market is not a free market. Like any high value market, it isn't a free market. I don't think there's any real free market out there, but this is certainly not a free market. You cannot send trains anywhere willy-nilly at the drop of a hat. You have to do driver training. You have to gauge clear the trains. The trains actually have to be right for the purpose of where they're going. They have to be the right traction motors. They have to be the right power for the location they're going. They have to, and so on and so on and so on and so on. You cannot just pick them up and put them anywhere else. They also have to be pinned into complex contracts, hugely complicated contracts as part of the TOC arrangement. So the idea that it's a free market is just nonsense. So that these trains do not just end up anywhere on the network. They go specifically where they've been tasked to go. The ROSCOs have no function, no purpose, and all the functions that the ROSCOs do have, like maybe some technological innovations here and there. Porterbrook do some really interesting innovations and bits and pieces. Angel some as well. I think Portugal could probably head of the charge on that front. Could just be done by the train operating companies or by a British Rail type organisation. It's not like the ROSCOs are doing that uniquely off their own back. They're earning 410 million quid in dividends. They're paying 410 million quid in dividends alongside a lot of additional profit as well, by the way, because the shareholder dividends is not the end of the story in terms of profit. There's a reason their money gets squirreled away to low tax and no tax havens and made obfuscation is made to happen on those numbers. Anyway, so you can pick up the finance if you want to. Here we are, Rail Industry Finance. The Office of Rail and Road published, this is where the stories come from. They published their April 22 to March 23, so 22-23 financial year 2022 data. Going into those finances, lots of interesting stuff in there to pick out. Perhaps we'll go through it in an episode maybe if people are interested. But within that there's this interesting extract which is 2.3, 2.30, 2.31 and 2.32, which I might just read verbatim actually from that document, from the ORR document. Total net profit margins for ROSCO has increased by 27.3 percentage points to 42% in the latest year. Compared with 3 years ago, net profit margins grew by 31%. This may be attributable to improved cost controls brought on by the mounting supply chain pressure. Interesting. So, major increase in profit margins. Remember when people talk about inflation and say that it's to do with wages and investment? No, inflation is at the moment entirely because of profiteering. The next point, compared with 5 years ago, total income for ROSCO has decreased by 28%, total costs decreased by 50%, and total net profit increased by 26%. Wait a minute. So the income for ROSCO has decreased, but their profit margins increased. Interesting. Okay. ROSCO has paid 410 million in dividends to shareholders in comparison to the previous year. This is up by 300 million. When compared with 5 years ago, total dividend payments are up 110%. So profits might be down, but dividend payments are up. Modern finance nonsense, 2010s, 2020s era finance nonsense of the kind that Greensill will be proud of, I'm sure. All sorts of nasties going on in there. The idea that they're making 42% profit on rolling stock is criminal. I mean, absolutely. It's just absolutely bonkers. And that's why they're not being touched, because they make a lot of people a lot of money. The people who run these companies earn more than the people who are more than the board, more than Andrew Haynes, more than HS2's chair. They are very, very rich, multi-million pound salary type people here. And the consequence is, as a friend of the show, Gary here, getting angry about useless train arrangements on the Great Western. 7-year-old 125 mile an hour bi-mode express EMU running on a local commuter route, Bristol to Gloucester, with no electrification and speed less than 100 miles an hour. Meanwhile, the train to and from London is another 5-car one just like that, and thus is rammed solid with people. Yeah, hopeless. If Gary, who is kind of trying to get on with life and trying to think positively, if Gary's getting peeved by this stuff, then it must be incredibly aggravating. So ROSCO's doing the best they can to make the railways awful. Devo Max, yes. Let's talk about the mayoral devolution stuff. There's a little bit to pick out here. The mayors, so Streety and Burnham have, and Rotherham actually. So Andy Burnham, Steve Rotherham, and Andy Street, the mayors of the Midlands and Northwest, attempting to come up with alternative plans to delivering HS2 up to Manchester. None of them are good. The only good plan is build the thing that we've already spent billions of pounds designing, consulting, preparing the supply chain to deliver. So I'm not going to dwell much on the details on these, to be honest, because I don't think there's much in them. I don't think they're going to go anywhere because the cities don't have the leverage to actually build strategic infrastructure like this. I don't entirely, it's a bit of political playing. I'm not into, it's possibly just trying to make government realise they should actually do something about this. It's probably also bed making for Labour as well, possibly. But as we'll see in a minute, perhaps not on that front. And the other thing Burnham has come out and said is that devolving power to over stations to Greater Manchester would see accessibility improve sooner. I do agree with that. I think that not least because I think that as much as possible, urban networks should be devolved to the city regions, as you all know. What is a bit weird is this quote, I'm not so sure, is Burnham saying there's an old railway culture that thinks the railway is more important than anything else. I mean, possibly, but I'm not sure quite. That's an easy thing to say, but it doesn't really seem to mean anything. So if there's some land near a station, often the station owner's default approach would be, well, we might need that in 50 years. So you can't release that for housing. It's really frustrating. I wish that was true. Again, this is the sort of thing that if you have a spatial plan, you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. So in a way, devolving it to Manchester, he's not wrong that it would be better used in that sense, because if you've devolved the infrastructure, then Manchester can decide what they're going to do in the long-term future with their asset. They can think strategically. It's why it's best to have separate urban, suburban networks owned by the city and separate to the national railway network. We'll struggle to extricate Manchester's network in that way, as for reasons previously discussed. But I'm always wary of selling. The irony is, of course, Network Rail has been forced to sell off a lot of very useful land. Although, as we'll see in a minute, they have bought maybe one or two bits of land back that they ought not to have lost in the first place. Anyway, talking of devolution, of course, Jennifer Williams, always very good on writing about devolved events and activities up this end of the country. And it's 10 years since, she's pointing out that it's 10 years since the Northern Powerhouse was invented. This is from an update to one of Burnham's committees a couple of days ago, saying that overall rail performance is now worse than it was 8 years ago. Yes, that's correct. Isn't it embarrassing? Really quite embarrassing. The high point was in 2016 when the franchises were awarded, but the new stock hadn't arrived, so we were struggling, but at least there was stability. Demand was enormous and everything was overcrowded and horrible, but at least it was overcrowded, horrible and stable. I'd much prefer us to... I'm annoyed at how much we're withdrawing from timetables, saying we need stability before anything else. Like, no, we need capacity. Stability is all fine and good, but if you're squeezing people off the network just so you can... We're not running a railway so that the railway works nicely. We're running a railway so that we can move people around. I don't hugely buy into this. Oh, we're not running the railway right now. We need to get that right. Well, yeah, we do need to get that right, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't also be thinking about actually expanding the system. Ina has made a very interesting point, which is I don't think that a few plots right next to urban stations is the issue causing the housing crisis, and the very, very minor housing bill would be worth limiting future capacity growth. Agreed. Burnham was kind of making the point that you sell that land to pay for accessibility improvements. But why not just do the accessibility improvements? Why not have value, land value uplift stuff that the city can tap into to then fund those, rather than selling off land. Anyway, and then of course Jen Williams, just this tweet capturing a load of discussion that happened a few weeks back that I'm not going to dwell on, to be honest, because it's just so obvious. Like, a load of people make this huge fuss of like, oh, HS2 is going to make things worse north of Birmingham. It's like, yeah, that's what I've been saying the whole time. That's the whole point. That's why you build HS2 as HS2, not up to Birmingham and then run it on the existing line. The whole point is that it doesn't run on the existing line. That's the point I've been making this whole time. So of course rail capacity is worse when you don't build HS2. Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. So yeah, frustrating. Oh, money-saving expert brackets trains. Yeah, Martin Lewis has been tweeting about trains quite a bit, so I thought I'd just, talking point. First one is Martin Lewis being angry about East Midlands Railway, taking the London-Sheffield train, getting angry. Every seat taken, every standing space taken, scores sitting in mid-train corridors, so I guess 500 people on it, and only one working toilet, probably a lot more than 500 actually, only one working toilet at one end. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. He clearly had a problematic toilet experience, I think, from this tweet. Also, lol at the blue tick, but anyway, whatever. But the other thing, Martin, so lots of people pointed out, yeah, this is what HS2 would fix, and without HS2 you cannot fix it. I was one of those people because I'm an insufferable tweeter. The other thing which is interesting, and this is just standard fare, to be honest. Standard stuff that we see is enormous. Martin was asking, should the railways be fully renationalised? Obviously, and David Turner Dr. DT tweeted out this thing that the reality is that nationalisation privatisation debate is much more complicated. It is much more complex, and obviously it's part nationalised. In fact, largely it's we're still sort of privatising the profits and the reward and nationalising the risk and the failure. But that doesn't mean that the public don't have an appetite for the railways to be greatly improved. And 80,000, 72 at the point that I did the screenshot, 1,000 people. It's a good 72,500 people is a decent number of people, and just an enormous majority of people are going, yes, please renationalise the railways. It's just an enormously popular policy. Oh, I forgot one more Devo Max that got lost in my rearrangement of these slides because, as ever these days, everything's a bit more last minute. Sorry. Where next for Transport for Wales? Yeah, TFW. This is Lee Waters, the nominally the transport kind of head of the Senedd. I can't remember what the titles are. That's bad of me. Gareth, let me know. Thank you. The rolling stock certainly is not nationalised. Yeah, is that poll still going? Yes, I think it is actually. I think it is. You can go and find that poll from Martin Lewis. Go find it and get tweeting. Anyway, Amanwi. What's Amanwi saying? He's saying TFW version 1 was about procuring, designing and delivering a better railway. Okay, very nice. TFW version 2 is about joining up all forms of public transport and designing them to be the easiest way to make most journeys. Yes, Wales is continuing to be further ahead than the rest of the UK on this stuff. So at some point I want to dig into this. Let's have a proper think about it. I don't know if this is just, at the moment, it's just a speech. But if there's anything more firm coming out, Gareth, you might have, Gareth in the chat might well have spotted if there's been any official documentation accompanying it. I'll have a look. If so, we're long overdue a Wales episode anyway. Deputy Minister for Climate Change, yes, but covering the transport brief. I believe Lee Waters is also covering the transport brief. Anyway. Oh, no, is he not? But, well, his policies overlap with transport because he does a lot of transport stuff. Anyway, whoa, this is very much a moment, because Louise Haig tweeting about back in the end of January, tweeting about Jurgen Meyer leading an independent review into rail and urban transport. Considering how a future government can accelerate connectivity and inspire confidence in Britain's ability to deliver infrastructure again. Great. Paul Bigland, old Biggers, pointing out, so what's the point of such a review when Keir Starmer's already prejudged the outcome when it comes to building HS2 to Manchester? Can't you see how that destroys your credibility? Well, yeah, fair point from Paul there. Also, if you're losing Paul from Labour, then bad times from current Labour. Jurgen Meyer's response, however, is the what-oh, because this is I have a lot of time for Jurgen, but this response is bad. The wording of Keir Starmer's statement was that we can't bring back HS2 as it was originally conceived. What? Why not? No land. So my response to that was, why can't we? No land has been sold off. It's unlikely there'll be any impediment to progressing HS2 as envisaged pre-IRP following the next general election. Why not, Jurgen? Why can't we bring HS2 back as it was originally conceived? What's changed? Has the demand changed? No. Have the costs changed? Actually, no, they haven't in the last 2 or 3 years. So, Jurgen is saying, sadly, that does seem to be the case. Oh. But my understanding is that creating higher capacity through... Oh, this is where it gets worse, folks. Through other, more cost-effective and innovative means is not ruled out. I'm blinking into the camera. Ooh. What other means? This is just standard anti-HS2 shit. This is the standard stuff that I've been dealing with from anti-HS2 people for years. There are better alternatives. Signalling can do the job that HS2 can. No, it can't. It cannot do that. Oh, you can get more fast trains on the existing network. No, you can't. Do you know how much money's been spent currently on TRU per mile, including the whole length of the route? So that's dividing by a lot of kilometres. It's £120 million per mile. That's how much. That's the same as HS2. That's how more, in fact. That's how much this stuff costs. This is how much on-network work costs. Have we forgotten how badly West Coast route modernisation went? Have we forgotten how West Coast route modernisation is what Jurgen is describing here, and it was an enormous and almighty shit show? Anyway, also, don't laugh too much at Jurgen's blue tick. I'm not writing off Jurgen's review yet. We'll put it on Rail Natter, and maybe we'll even get Jurgen on to talk about it. But this does not fill me with confidence. In fact, this is bad. This is very bad. Ina's right. Can't bring it back because no engineering company will be mad enough to work with the UK government anymore. Yeah, that's a fair point. Richard Moody is saying, yes, Lee is doing transport because they see transport as being key for climate change. Absolutely. I think that is the general logic in Wales right now. So let's change and talk about something else. Martin Adam Haynes. Hello, Martin. Pointing out the new station at Wixham's, or upgraded station. And it seems that the station features a clock tower from the new Network Rail Medium to Small Stations Design Manual. Ooh, now does it? So let's jump into these pictures and have a look. These are the Wixham renders, and below are the Explorer Station Widmerpool fake renders. Let's see if they seem to match. There's Wixham's. There seems to be some matching going on here. It's got there's the clock tower. This clock tower's got a little clock. This one's got a big central clock. But it does have a clock. They seem to be taking some of these design cues. I think there possibly is. I think possibly, maybe, question mark. Yeah. Richard Moody is saying Jurgen then said on Question Time that business wants HS2 built and we should do that. Yeah, I don't know. I hopefully the response. By the way, jumping back to Jurgen's tweet, if I may, Jurgen got appallingly ratioed. 20 people liked his tweet, 300 people liked my tweet, and he had 45 messages. He had 45 replies to his tweet of people dragging him. So he might have noticed that. Hopefully, realised how ridiculous what he said was. I do like the new clock tower design, Ina. Oh, you like the new one more than the old one? That's interesting. So the one at the top is the new one. This is new is up here, and old is down here. It's not bad. It could do with a couple of these. Yeah, it could do with some double arrows. Anyway, just me. Okay. The other thing is you go into the website of Explorer Station and it does seem to have died a bit of a death. The report was published back at the end of 2022, which we didn't go into. Maybe we'll pick that up and have a quick flick through. But there's still the detailed design and delivery guidance. I don't know if the guidance, the Network Rail guidance, in fact, we could Google it, can't we? Network Rail Small and Medium Station Guidance. Design Guidelines. There we are. Oh. Well, there we go. So let's get this up here. Let's go with this. So here is. Oh, I did not. So here we go. There we are. Live in episode, we get to discover some stuff. I didn't realise that this had actually manifested into that. They've got the nice kit of parts thing going on here, and the kind of general arrangement situation. The visual, the print was good design. It's very nice, isn't it? It's got the Widmerpool. Oh, they've expanded on the Widmerpool visual concept, which is quite nice. Existing shelter, proposed shelter, hub station. Look at this. Oh, this is nice. Oh, yeah, this is nice. I like this. Community. This is the community stuff. Lovely community space. Toolkit. So here's the kit of parts. Welcome mat activity frame, which is a fun way to describe that. Oh, this is not bad, is it? There's the little paper model there, and so they've still got the cladding option. They've still got the offset clock. I think I prefer the offset clock also because of the double arrow. I think that is quite smart. And we've seen a different one turning. There's lots of so it's all timber louvers and stuff. I'm not looking at this now. I'm not so sure that the one we've seen for Wixham's is this. It might be what might have happened is a consultancy might have just kind of quickly mocked something up that emulates this rather than actually kind of delivering the precise sort of works here. But yeah, this is nice, isn't it? Look at this. Look at these different configurations. Oh, lovely. That's very nice. I love these design guidelines. We really need to get Anthony and Frank on to talk about these. They're lovely. They're really nice. Look at this. RA2 as well going on in there. Yeah, look at this. Access and inclusivity. It's good, isn't it? Environmental sustainability. Oh, yeah. Embodied carbon of the whole thing. Oh, that's very nice. So they talk about different bits that have embodied carbons, methodology behind working out how you do it, construct it, trying to make it cheap and quick and scalable and nice materials, but keeping the general vibe. I like this a lot. Yeah, different materials you can pick, feature walls that have different certain materials. Look at that. Oh, it's very nice landscaping. Look at this. Look at this. Isn't it great? These are fantastic guidelines. They're very, very good. Fair play. Okay, so then this is the landscaping toolkit and kind of local vernacular and all this good stuff. The MEP here, MEP bits, lighting, station lighting, very important. Look at this, maintenance, how you maintain it, very important. Cost of procurement. So there are. So there's the cost opportunity. Oh, cost of all the bits. There's all the bits here. Inclusive cost breakdown by element. Also, we can design our own. You can go and download this now. I just Googled it. And you can start designing your own stations, folks. Look at this. This is fun, isn't it? God, the fun we could have. All the various functional requirements, fine. Good. Base configurations overview again. And oh, look, this is a bit more detail about what the stations could look like. The most simple form. Look, category F. Simple, super simple station. These are just a bunch of appendices. Fine, lovely. Buff theme, red theme. Oh, planting. Look at that, lovely planting. Marvellous. Various landscape scenarios. Scenario. Fine. Fine image credits. There's lots of 7N architect outputs. Marvellous. There's Frank and Anthony at the top there. Who else is in here? Working group. Any familiar faces? No, none I recognise. Actually, I know Caroline on there. And yeah, okay, cool. Nice. There you go. Design guideline 2. I love the network rail design guidelines. I think they're great. Anyway, right, having Googled that, I lost all your comments. Let's see. Crayon episode. Yeah, that's it. What is this document? So that is the Network Rail, what was it? Network Rail Small and Medium Station Design Guidelines. You can Google it, you can download it yourself. A little bit of hostile bench architecture snuck in. You can't give the homeless people anything good. Obviously, that's sarcasm, folks, just in case you need that clear. And that you can probably get a very clean drop of that. Anyway, Paris says SUV off, SUV off. That's the joke, folks. It's a visual joke in the Chiron. Or do they, brackets question mark, because it's a bit cheeky. Parisians have voted to increase parking rates for SUVs in the French capital. No. Parisians have voted to increase parking rates for SUVs for people who don't live in Paris. So if you're a Parisian and you have an SUV, your parking has stayed the same. However, it's still some minor progress. The progress is incremental, so it's a bit cheeky, but it's still, we're starting to see some action to curb, an acknowledgement that large cars are dumb and stupid, and we need to get rid of them. So that's minor progress, not quite as with all the French transport stuff we've announced, including like caps on domestic flights related to high-speed rail and stuff like that. There's always a bit of a caveat in the law, but at least the fact that it exists. And things can happen. But also, yeah, SUVs suck. You're exactly right, Hannah. Spot on. Privatisation rabbit ears good. This is a tweet from Alan Smith, who's one of the FT's graphics and data viz people. Sometimes you make a chart that surprises yourself. And this chart is, zooming on the large pink version, reservoir drought. The UK has not delivered a new facility this century. New reservoirs since 1800 by date of completion. So here is there's quite a lot of stuff going on. There's some really big ones, 1850, early 1900s, the really, really big one being delivered in 1960. A big sort of surge in kind of these. Oh, and then what happens? So there's a stop. And what's this stop? The stop is this big stop when we've delivered bugger all. 1989. What happened there? Do you remember when we talked about privatisation and we had a letter about about water privatisation. Well, yeah, that happened in 1989. Since then, not a single new reservoir. The couple that do go beyond that line were being built already, so they were being they're state initiated and were delivered just at the back end of just as the private companies picked up, and not a thing delivered since. And lots of people are saying, well, that's because planning has got in the way. It's like, I mean, planning didn't change overnight in 1989. So what? Lots of other people say, well, conditions have changed. Like, oh yeah, sure, they've been privatized, and those companies don't want to invest in anything. And it's also like, well, but the planning stops private companies doing it. It's like, well, that's another good reason for this stuff not to be done by private companies. Water being run by private companies is baffling and insane. What's the rule that I came up with? I can't remember. Was this in a natter? I can't remember. The rule, or maybe it's not the rule I came up with in natter. Maybe it's something I've written in the book. The rule of whether something should be privatized or not it's very simple. It's like, what happens if it goes bust? Can it go bust? Can a water company go bust and just fall over and disappear? No. It would have to be taken over by someone else so that water continues arriving into people's taps. Therefore, it should not be run by a private company. Can the internet fall over? Could you switch off the internet in a city? Could overnight, if all of OpenReach stopped working, would that be allowed to happen? No, it wouldn't. Therefore, OpenReach should be a publicly owned asset, not a private company. You can do this for loads of stuff. The banks. If a bank falls over, is it allowed to fail? No, it gets bailed out. Should it therefore be a private entity? No, probably not. Could you spin bits of banks out into being smaller private entities? Maybe. Probably, if you spun it to a thing that's small enough to fail, it's probably not much use to anyone anyway. So, there's me thoughts. Privatization, very simple rule. If it can fall over, a company that makes, I don't know, these glasses. Or, I tell you what, my favourite shower gel provider, Original Source. If Original Source fell over as a company and went bust, would they be allowed to go bust? Yes. They would be gone. There'd be no more Original Source shower gel, and I'd probably end up getting the cheap Sainsbury's version instead. Therefore, that's a company that can be private. That's fine. The company that makes Tony's Chocolonely. Tony's Chocolonely went bust. Is that allowed to happen? Yes. The company that makes Tony's Chocolonely, which is a shifty Swiss company that is much more dubious than its branding would make you think, it can go bust, and that would be fine. Would not be a problem. The company that makes these scissors, which is Maped, could they go bust? Yes. Another company, you'd have to buy scissors from another company. That's, that. Can the Ordnance Survey go bust? Borderline. It's an interesting use case. Probably not, because a lot of government stuff relies on Ordnance Survey. Therefore, should it be a state company, or should it be state owned, or should it be public? A private company. Yeah. And on and on. This connects. Reach the point of the galaxy brain moment, which is, can Google go bust? No, they can't. Google could not go bust. Too much stuff relies on it. Therefore, it should not be a private company. You've realised it. This connect, spot on. And Richard Fraser standing up and singing the Internationale, absolutely. Would I nationalise sausages? Jamie Potts asks. I'm trying to think what food providers couldn't go bust. Would I let Wall's sausages go bust? No, I think you're right. I would have to nationalise sausages. You're right. Absolutely. Anyway, there we go. So, let's talk about Wortley Curve briefly. Andy Karras, by that logic, WhatsApp can never be allowed to go bust because the government seems to run on it. But the thing is, WhatsApp probably can't go bust because a lot of government services actually use WhatsApp. So WhatsApp probably should be a public entity, or at least should be gobbled. Indeed. I like the rule of, if its absence kills people, it shouldn't be sold for profit. I think that reduces the Venn diagram, that reduces the circle a little bit. Nationalised Excel. Yeah, Microsoft. Yeah, very much Excel. Again, yeah. Could you run another service? Yeah, there we go. Anyway. Right, so what else am I going to talk about? Yeah, Wortley Curve. Wortley Curve. We're in Leeds. There's this bit of railway here. Network Rail have nabbed it for, what was it, a cool £46,000, I think, which is quite a lot more than the original asking price was, which is a bit strange, in honesty. There we go. What is this, though? Wortley Curve is here. So we are in. There are. This is Wortley Curve here. There is. There's the old chord. What is it? Well, here's Leeds Station over here. There's Leeds Station, marvelous. So this way is to York, which is fun. This way is to Normanton and other places. There we are. I mean, yeah, well, like what is it? Yeah, Normanton and other such places. That direction, you know. This is to. This up here is to this is to Harrogate. Harrogate. This is up Airedale, Wharfdale, Nice, Ilkley, etc. This is to Bradford, and this is that right? I think it's right. Yes, this goes up. This is the kind of the old road, right? The old LNYR route, and this is the way to down here is taking you to Morley and Huddersfield, and down here is taking you to. You know what's funny is that the next slide was the slide I intended to do all these arrows on. You'll see why in a second. Down here is to Wakey. What is it? Outwood and then Wakefield. It is weird that they sold it. The thing is, we'll jump to this one. What's it actually enabling? Let's go back. The Wortley Curve is here. So here it is. This is the Wortley Curve. Connecting this way and then connecting this down here and also this way over here as well, because the rail network is a bit weird in this part of the world. So it's actually skipping Leeds and allowing you to basically go direct from Bradford to. So I don't operationally. I'm not sure. Is it that useful? It's useful for us to own the railway. Should own the land. It might even be able to enable temporary development on it on the premises that it could get wiped off if they needed it. But I don't know what you'd actually use that for. What are we actually using it for here? Because if you want to, do you want to go? I suppose it would enable direct Bradford to London services that don't have to turn back in Leeds. That would enable that, but I don't know if you want that sort of service. I for one, am not sure about having a direct Bradford to London service anyway, unless it was on a dedicated network, like the TransPennine main line, tied into HS2. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this one. Yeah. Freight bypass though is a very good point. So it's pointing out that you could use it for freight if you connect it up through Bradford, which is mostly impossible. Yeah, so freight is certainly an option. Yeah, it's a very good point. Thanks everyone for writing me. Passenger perspective not so useful, but for freight for sure. All right, okay, we have to talk about Euston. We have to talk about this thing. I can hear the little one being sad. This is not turning out to be a very good night. We've had a run of good nights, and tonight is not one of those, which is not so good. Sorry, forgive me just a sec so I can work out exactly how disastrous it's been. Okay. Yeah, okay. Anyway, sorry everyone. I get being distracted by the trials and tribulations of my darling little one. So, this stupid thing. It's this big advertising board. What's fun about this big advertising board is all the photos I've seen of it recently, it's either been blank or has had a screensaver on, which is quite funny to me. Because no one wants to advertise on it because it's very unpopular. Possibly also because the prices are extortionate for what they're probably asking for an enormous extortionate question. People are asking I'm going to jump back here. What are the white bits of track? Those are tunnels. As I did, if you're just wondering. These are tunnels. This what we got. There's I can't remember. So there's Morley Tunnel. What's the other big one that's here? I don't actually remember the name. I don't know the names of the old road tunnels very well along here because I've never really worked on this line. Yeah, I have worked on this line. I was PE on this line for admittedly quite a short space of time. Those of you who know what that means will know what that means. Anyway, I digress. Sorry, Euston, this thing, stupid. It's ridiculous it was installed. It's hideous. It's just wrecks the aesthetic of the station as well. It's just horrible. What a horrible idea. What were they thinking? Could they run all rail natters on it? Should we crowdfund to pay to put rail natter on it? That'd be fun, wouldn't it? They want to put the bouncing DVD screensaver on it. Hannah Goodliff, everyone. That's the best comment of the night, I think, on there. Anyway, lovely, right. So, the Infrastructure and Projects Authority, also known as the IPA for some reason, is announcing this planned investment by 2024-25 of £164 billion. 700 to 775 billion of planned and projected investment expected over the next 10 years. What is this investment? To find out, you have to put all your details into a website. There is no just a publicly accessible, easy to access map. So big boo, shout out to that. Katie Fenn, there's one thing I like about the Euston ad board, and that's my single most popular tweet of all time. Yeah, that's a very good put games of Pong on it. What about the Warp Speed Stars screensaver? Yeah. Anyway, the IPA here announcing this wonderful land of cheese and wine and investment. What is this investment? 660 projects and programs across the public and private sectors in the pipeline of investment. It's such a this for me is like, what is the point of the IPA? What's the point in them? What are they telling us here? What's this information? What does any of this mean? What's the value of any of this investment? What if this investment is useful and what if it is a waste of time and actually just burning carbon? What's going on here? This, and then you have the National Infrastructure Commission. That's also a government body. Like, what are these? We have the bonfire of the Quangos, and yet the IPA exists and the National Infrastructure Commission exists. Also, the idea that there is a pipeline is a joke, because it's like, well, what? No, there isn't. The real investment that we need to see into things like sustainable transport, there is no. Where's the sustainable transport investment in any of this? There's none. There isn't any. They got rid of it all. Is my life a joke to you, IPA? Go away. Anyway, talking of which, this new report has come out, and it says all the stuff that we know the answer to already. This BCG report, this kind of think tanky type consultancy, is the Centre for Growth report benchmarking UK infrastructure delivery against peers. Just another report going, the UK is bad at stuff, and what can we learn? So co-authored among the authors is Raoul Ruparel here. It's done a little thread breaking it down, and also there's this kind of an there's an article here that maybe we go through in a future episode. I'm not sure how much it says that is particularly informative is the thing. So there's the thread there that we could potentially go through. There's a few points that Andy Bruce from Reuters point out. The UK is the worst for cost overruns versus peers. Rail construction unit cost is twice as high as the global average. UK road projects cost double that of France. Pre-construction phase is slowest in the UK. We take a long time to get to the point where we're building things. Yeah, that's all true. But how much of that is actually instructive? That's the thing. So this is kind of what the project, what's reckoned by this report. Ill-defined projects from government, vision, budget, and time. Good recipe for faff cost. Yes, I agree with that. The annoying one that bothers me, which is generically just waving your arms around and saying a planning system. Like, okay, but what about it? The procurement system gives illusion of risk reduction, but really it's a costly buck passing game. Yeah, well, that kind of matches what we've talked about with contractor structure, fragmented construction industry. Oh, we've talked about that before. Interesting. No strategic objectives. Oh, we have talked about that. So some of this is interesting because it's a report saying some of the stuff I've been saying for a while. Yes. So this is an interesting one. BCG says addressing these problems is an urgent priority to the UK to have any hope of reviving economic growth in the long run. Will the UK do this? No, it won't. Anyway, let's jump to another news article. Which we can't because Japan today did this weird thing. Did they do this with all their articles? Because there's a very interesting article pointing out all the problems that Chuo Shinkansen is currently having. And then I went into the article again to get the screenshot, and the article has expired, is no longer available. Any related articles and user comments are shown below. So I can't tell you what was happening exactly. What? Why? Why have they got rid of an article? What kind of weird journalism is this? Does anyone know why Japan today do this? Is this just a standard thing they do? Or is it because they've been told to take the article down because it was a bit close to the bone? I don't know. Japan has weird levels of authoritarianism in certain aspects of public and private, and indeed private life. So, weird one. Thoughts on a postcard. But I don't know. The overall theme of this one, though, was, to summarise the article, there are several fairly fundamental stalemates within the construction of Chuo. There are major problems on the construction overall, and it's looking less and less likely that it's going to deliver on time. It's looking more likely that it's going to be delayed by a large number of years. So yeah, very strange that Japan today have deleted an article on such a Yeah, Andy Karras is saying that the news expired, went off, they had to throw it in the bin. Sorry, folks. Yeah, exactly. It started smelling a bit funny. Right. To our eponymous Californian hydrogen train nonsense. Yes, indeed. What is this all about? So we've been following this for a little while. CalTrain's looking into their strategy over how to power their trains, how to power their kind of routes. The state's first ZE equipment procurement for deployment on Valley Rail. ZE, in this case, I think is referring to like hydrogen, nasty, zero emissions equipment. ZE is zero emissions equipment, but they mean hydrogen. The irony is it's not zero emissions because the hydrogen in question is like brown hydrogen. It's like really horrible, nasty hydrogen. Yeah, very relevant to today's topic. Germany cancelled all investments into hydrogen transport solutions, including trains and cars. Oh, have you got a link to that? Do you want me to make you a spanner? You can drop a link in, because I'd be interested to... I'm going to make you a spanner, forgive me. No, add as moderator. Standard moderator, save. You're now a spanner. I hope you don't take offence, but it'd be great if you could drop a link to that, because I could do with picking that up. Because Germany, certain parts of Germany have already put moratoriums on hydrogen as being a very bad idea. So it's funny if that is a Germany-wide moratorium, that'd be good. Not that Germany's in a particularly healthy state at the moment. In fact, there's a lot going wrong in Germany right now. Good grief. The Germans are not okay. Right, GDR Riley, California rail nerd here, ready for questions. In fact, GDR Riley, I feel like it might have been some of your tweets that I was inspired by. Right, there we go. I've opened that link there, so that's done. Thanks, Ina. Very useful. Federal government. Yeah, crikey. There we go. Let's bring this up. So this is some useful context. Let me just so that for the benefit of everyone in here, translate to English. There we go. The hydrogen affair in the Wissing ministry. Now, wait a minute. That's. Can I untranslate? Can I? If I refresh it. Too late. Oh, no, German, right, okay. Die Wasserstoffaffäre im Wissing-Ministerium hat nun auch finanzielle Folgen. Forest. Anyway, I won't pain you with reading. For the time being, no new money will be approved for funding projects of this type. The background is the suspicion of nepotism. The Federal Ministry of Transport is no longer approving any new funds for hydrogen funding for the time being. I mean, this is a dreadful translation. Good grief. The AI doesn't know what it's doing. This emerges from an internal letter from the Secretary of State, Stefan Schnorr. Hell of a name there, folks. Stefan Schnorr. Which is available to the DPA news agency, Der Spiegel, first reported about it. The letter went on to say that no contracts on the subject of hydrogen should be entered into until further notice. In the event of a material and temporal irrefutability, a justified exception can only be made after approval by the Secretary of State level. Suspicion of irregularities in the allocation of funds. Last week, Federal Minister Volker Wissing drew oh dear, this translation is dreadful. I should actually just do it in German. I could probably translate better than Google have. Relieved the head of the hydrogen department, Klaus Bonhoff, of his duties with immediate effect. The reason given was that the necessary relationship of trust between the minister and the department... Oh, this is spicy. Doubts about the investigation report. Oh, I love this. Okay, so yeah. Basically, they've gone, there's a lot of corruption in this whole hydrogen racket. Seems very much suspiciously like the hydrogen is in fact a thing to compel public transport to continue to maintain the fossil fuel status quo. Anyway, right, so GDR Riley is in the chat, so if you have questions, ask GDR Riley. Oh, here we go. GoBiz and Arches are fighting proposed requirements from the Fed for very strict requirements for green hydrogen production. Interesting. The background is the suspicion of nepotism. Yeah, I love this stuff. Canadian Pacific has a big hydrogen freight locomotive project converting diesels to hydrogen. Dreadful idea. Absolute waste of time. If you're going to use hydrogen, you're better to use diesel. Just bloody put wires up. Anyway, let's have a look. So we have 6 transport corridors. We have 3 intercity routes. Capital Corridor, the San Joaquins. My Spanish pronunciation dreadful there, sorry everyone, and the Pacific Surfliner. New routes to be zero emissions, Valley Rail and future zero emission routes, Central Coast and Antelope Valley. So all these various bits and pieces. All of these route lengths are pretty long. Valley Rail is only 118 miles and Antelope Valley is only 76 miles. So there's lots of stuff about stations and fine. can see here, options, they're saying, I don't know what this is just options thing, is saying, we're going to procure flirts, and also we're going to look at hydrogen fuel cell locomotives. It's like, oh God. Okay. And then there's this middle slide that we're going to pick out in a bit more detail, and then there's a little puff slide. This is from a bunch of slides that I think were like Freedom of Information Act, like Freedom of Information request, or at least possibly screenshotted by an insider. And it's like, okay, yeah, the Flirt is a good train, but the hydrogen fuel cell thing, like, okay, they can swap that out and put pantograph in the top, and fine, the Flirt's a good train, but hydrogen is not a good solution for this stuff. Just put up wires. GDR Rally pointing out somehow there is North Valley Rail, which is sacramented to Chico. Yeah, Stadler apparently laughed when Calsta asked for hydrogen locos. Yeah, of course they would, because this is nominally viable. Hydrogen locos to carry big trains ain't. Yeah. Especially, yeah, hydrogen has lots of use. Go back to our hydrogen episode. The most recent hydrogen episode was about hydrogen for heating homes, and ways that you should be in the hydrogen hierarchy, and what we should be using hydrogen for, because we have to for industrial process, and what we really should not be using hydrogen for. But let's pick out the middle slide, because the middle slide is the really painful one here. So, assessment dimension. So these are the metrics. So environmental, technical and operational, economical, and synergistic, which is a rather strange looking thing I'm not sure about. So today, diesel, fine. Operationally great, environmentally nay great, economical, pretty expensive, fuel is pretty expensive. So the next one then is Ren diesel. I presume it's like biodiesel type situation. No difference operationally. Environmental, mediocre, dubious, fine. Okay, fine. So that's fair enough. So then the the classic kind of combination, the three combination things: batteries, hydrogen, electrification. So we know that for fast, frequent, or freight services, batteries and hydrogen are both useless. Not according to this. So, in terms of greenness, batteries, good, apparently. Electrification, good, apparently. But hydrogen is excellent somehow. They've put a 1 against this to say, please note that hydrogen as a solution for the intercity fleet is not intended to serve as a general recommendation. Okay. That's not the asterisk I'll be putting here. My asterisk that I'll be putting here is, electrification requires a capital outlay. It requires a carbon outlay. But the carbon outlay is absolutely minuscule compared to the outlay, A, of sourcing this hydrogen, but also B, of running a train with much less capacity, therefore much less people or things being moved around, in this case far fewer people, because you're hauling a load of hydrogen around. So this is I don't see where they've come. GDR Riley, what are your thoughts? Yeah, this is just painful. It's not FYI, it was public. It is public on the NECG website. Thanks, GDR Riley, very, very useful. The Class 1 freight railroads own the route right of way, and they make the rules, absolutely. They oppose continuity because it involves making something. Well, this is, California does own some infrastructure, and it's looking to own more. Yeah, well, that would be nice, wouldn't it, GDR Riley? It would help the situation. But even then, California seems to not care. The idea that you're putting electrification is not the most environmental option here, because it's the highest capacity, therefore you're driving the most modal shift. You'd create the most capacity, you create the most potential to take people out of the cars. They are right that electrification is by far the best operational option. It's actually quite a lot better than these two. I'm surprised these are equivalent to electrification. Electrification is a lot better than diesel in terms of operationals. What's funny is electrification's put at red for economical. What over what measure? Because it's red because you have to spend a bit of upfront money, but there's a thing called getting a loan, and you take a loan out and then you buy the thing that's upfront expensive, and then you pay it back by the net present value benefits of having a good system. Yeah, so this is obviously bunkum, and then the synergistic bit. Why is that mediocre compared to the batteries and hydrogen stuff? What? So what is this rubbish? What on earth is this? Next Generation Equipment Committee, NGEC. This is absolute gibberish. What are they on about? GDR Riley, what? Yeah, GDR Riley pointing out the classic problem, same in the UK, modal shift isn't even considered for emissions reduction. And CARB is considered, what is that, the California Rail Board, possibly? A railroad board, forgive me if I'm not getting that acronym right, has considered punishing operators for running more diesel service. Like, hydrogen is like borderline the same as diesel in terms of its kind of overall benefit. Like, you get hydrogen gives you the benefit of getting rid of the nasty direct kind of air quality emissions, but this is such a mess. This is such a mess. Oh my goodness me! This is just baffling nonsense. Yeah. The NGEC will provide national leadership in standardization, acquisition, and management of passenger rail equipment. Oh. Well, so far, nay great. You know, the irony is they've got a picture of a TGV. This is a TGV that they've put the picture of at the front here. This is an Alstom sort of mid-generation TGV, very much powered by catenary. Anyway, assume synergies that you can't run electric without wires. Impossible. I don't know. The synergistic is surely like, oh, if you have wires, then that means the freight system can run with wires as well. And actually, everyone benefits because wires are so much cheaper to run a railway with an electrified railway than it is to run a diesel railway over the kind of the scale of freight movement. Not to mention that coming if the class 1's electrified, given the gradients coming over down into over the Rockies and down to the coast, some of those freight trains could like basically they'd probably generate enough electricity to, depending on whether they're taking empties or fulls down the hill, they could probably generate enough electricity to send a train going up the other side. If it's a full train going down the hill and an empty going up, you'd probably generate enough electricity to send the empty train up the hill for free. This is a way this works. Sweden has it, or is it Sweden? It is Sweden, I think. In the north of Sweden, they have this. They have a train that, because of the fact there's a mining operation, it generates all of its own. It's almost like it's not quite, but almost. It's a perpetual motion machine because the train goes down the hill full of stuff, and it regeneratively brakes puts power back into the grid, which is easily enough to then send that train back up the hill again. So frustrating. Yeah, wires famously hard to put up. Not really. Gregor's is saying Bratter's hydrogen is synergistic because it uses the same thing as cars. Yeah, well, quite. Just painful. Just horrible. Anyway, right. Ugh, horrible. Just really frustrating because it's not complicated to electrify. It's really very straightforward. In the US, where there's generally a lot more space, it's just so easy to electrify everything. all the bridges are huge. Everything's easy. Just so easy to just shove wires up. It's just painfully easy to do. India has wired like its entire... India was wiring about a UK length of rail network a month. Like, just this... If at the rate that India was electrifying rail, it would take a year and a third to electrify everything that's left in the UK. Just 1.33 years. So to think in the US, that rate of electrification, just frustrating. Anyway, let's change. What if car? Which is kind of the question for the previous slide as well. So Bromptons are building a new factory. It's a car-free factory, which is a gimmick, but kind of a fun gimmick. Obviously, it's not car-free because they have HGVs coming in and picking up dropping off bits and picking up bikes. Fine, but the idea of having staff coming out in their cars is a nice one. I like that. It's a kind of a fun, novel idea. And National Highways has objected to this on the basis of, the detail. Here's Cargo Fiat's Cargo Bike Ben on Twitter saying, we built our country so the only way you can get around is by car. To justify our own existence, how dare you try to change that? Well, okay, Road CC, pick up a bit more detail. The Highways Authority raised concerns about the scheme's impact on the local road network and the lack of any car parking facilities at the site. What? Surely that would have no impact on the local road network. National Highways, if you remember, which is basically it is Highways England, but renamed again and again, calls on Bike Brand to consider those with no choice but to drive. They have considered them and probably aren't employing them. Anyway, marvellous. Just some stupid pile of stupid there. Oh, there's not a huge... we're going to end on some fun, don't worry. We'll cheer ourselves up a little bit. Ministers have secretly lowered performance standards for GTR, to go over Thameslink Railway, after it failed on most measures of service quality. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. I have to say, I've been travelling on Thameslink. I love those trains. The 700s are wonderful trains. They are looking haggard inside. They have not seen much love. Just graffiti and vandalism everywhere. They're just looking... The seats are all roughed up and haggard. They just have clearly wound down how much money is being spent to look after these trains, which is really sad. And yeah, so the government's just softened the targets so that they still get paid. As ever, it's like, no, surely those targets are hold and the company doesn't get paid the dividends, right? You know, Govia don't get there. No, Govia just going to get, they're just going to change, the government's just going to change the targets so they can pay Govia anyway. Get rid of private companies out of this loop. They are serving no function whatsoever. They're just literally bleeding dividends out of the system for no reason. It might not even be that much money relatively, but that's not the point. The point is that small amount of money could be employing a few extra people in the system. The creeping dial of dismalness is how I describe this particular story. Let's talk about something fun. Sadiq Khan has overseen the renaming of the 6 London Overground lines. This is great. They're getting a new colour. It's the same because I kind of like the orange, but also, yeah, they've been renamed. We're having the Liberty line, the Lioness line, the Mildmay line, the Suffragette line, the Weaver line, the Windrush line, which I think is great. They've all got a different colour, which I have to say, I think all the multiple colours are starting to get chaotic. I don't know what the hell's going on. This means that if we go back to our Crossrail episode when we talk about Crossrail, if you remember the purple rail natter, then hello everyone, putting loads of hearts on this, by the way. Yeah, I love this as well. It's a happy story. I like this. I think it's a good idea. I have absolutely no complaints about any of this, by the way. The colours, I'm a little bit like, it's getting a bit too colourful, the London map. It's a bit, oof. I understand they've given themselves a bit of get out of jail free card by the fact that all of these ones have the like heavy rail, whatever that means. They've got the rail 2 lines rather than the underground thick line. Fine. So we have to update our collection of London rail transport systems to change from the East London line becomes the Windrush line, the North London line becomes the Mildmay, the Watford DC line becomes the Lioness line, the Gospel to Barking line becomes the Suffragette line, the Lee Valley lines become the Weaver line, and the Romford Upminster line becomes the Liberty line. Marvellous, lovely. Of course, my preference would be that you would have all of these systems would still be orange, would be numbered primarily 1 to 6, but you can still have the names. That's fine. But I'd keep them orange. But also, this is from the guy who says that you put the subsurface lines into a single set of S1 to 4 under the metropolitan colour. That you have the nice blue for the underground here. U1 to 8 of Bakerloo, Central, Jubilee, Northern, Fleet, Piccadilly, Victoria, and Waterloo as my simplified underground lines. And then, of course, Thameslink is Thameslink. And Crossrail is Thameslink 2, just as Crossrail 2 would be Thameslink 3. The E1 to 5 for DLR and the T1 to 3 for the trams. It's my preferred system. And I think, who am I to... Yeah. I like the new names. I think the colours are... the colours are getting a bit silly, but the new names are great. So, we're talking about private sector innovation, of course. Private sectors innovate by doing shifty financial stuff and closing up their businesses for tax reasons, which I believe is what's happening with the company Arrival, with its UK arm, just being wound up. Administrators have been called in. It's just being wound up. Troubled times for Arrival as its first shares were suspended from the NASDAQ, and now it's called in the administrators at its 2 UK businesses. I like the vibes of this van. I think this looks great. This would be great fun to have whizzing around our cities as a zero emissions vehicle delivery van. It looks fun. Likewise, this bus looks great. Looks like we'll never see them because the company is gone. Isn't it great that we allow, and just for like administration and tax reasons? Is this a thing that goes? If can this go bust? Well, as it happens, yes, it can. But also it'd be quite nice if we had some sort of state entity that also made buses to compete with those private companies and possibly could do so more efficiently, and therefore those buses could be bought by local authorities and run their services using a high quality but publicly built bus. I don't know, that might be nice. 172 UK jobs out the window. This company was founded in 2015 by Russian billionaire Denis Sverdlov. Good start. There we are. Anyway, in October 2022, the company announced it was pulling back from the UK as it opened a microfactory in North Carolina, chasing the lucrative North American market. That's clearly not gone well. Ooh. So the sad horns play once more. From that to a bit of a savage change in tone, we have to talk about. I've not done a trigger warning for this picture because it's sufficiently low resolution. Tempe train crash, the Tempe rail crash in Greece. Nectaria Stamouli has been doing some really good writing on this. There's a really good long read at Politico that I would recommend going in and reading, explaining the fallout from this, the continued problems. And Athens has kind of essentially overruled a European Commission call for action against two ministers accused of criminal activity around the mismanaging of signalling renewals on the railway. Some seriously mucky stuff going on. So the EPPO, which is the European Public Prosecutor's Office, supported suspicions of a cover-up when it charged 23 suspects, including 18 public officials, for crimes linked to the execution of contracts on remote traffic control and signalling systems on the network, co-funded by the EU. Ooh. So, bearing in mind the signalling system is responsible, or I haven't read a report on the crash yet, but it's very likely a signalling system was responsible for it. There was lots of reports of the fact the signalling system, the driver reported problems already, and the signalling system had been like overwritten, written off, switched off, blah blah blah. Here's the EPPO's website. You can see their headline here. It's an official website of the European Union. Marvelous. If I go to go into the body of the report, the evidence gathered points to criminal responsibility for the following reasons. On the basis of a private agreement, the two companies constituting the consortium contractor immediately after the signature of the contract arbitrarily split the project between them. One of the companies undertook to carry out the northern section of the project, while the second company undertook to carry out the project on the major part of the Athens-Thessaloniki route, including the section near Tempe where a fatal railway collision occurred on 20th of February 2023. Yeah, what was that? Nearly a year ago now. In addition, the second company entrusted the technical studies regarding the signalling systems to a third company which did not possess the specific technical knowledge required, in breach of the terms of the contract. Ouch. So they gave it to some guy, which stated the expertise was carried out by a specified provider. This resulted in a breach of the contractual obligation concerning the provision of specialised expertise, for which a financial penalty of approximately $2 million was imposed, following an audit carried out by Greece's own Financial Audit Committee. Fine. While the original scope of the contract entailed the restoration of existing signalling and telecommand systems, the consortium contractor attempted to construct an entirely new signalling system with novel telemetry units. It is understood that this was an unlawful modification of the original contract, which resulted in an unwarranted increase in the value of the contract, not justified by any unforeseen circumstances. Oh, golly, okay. According to the investigation, a total of 7 unlawful extensions of the original contract were granted. Oh, golly. Pursuant to the decisions of the board of directors of Ergos. For this reason, the project has not yet been completed more than 9 years after contract 717 was signed. So they're just like going, can we deliver this bit? And you pay us for this bit? Or can you deliver this bit? And you pay us for this bit? They've expanded well beyond the scope of the project. It's alleged that employees of this organisation, the management of the project, intentionally declared incomplete and false information to the managing authority regarding the existence of facts critical to the distribution of the funds and the approval of the extensions. As a result, the requests were approved by the managing authority, which paid the funds to the beneficiary, which subsequently paid the consortium contractor. Yikes. Furthermore, it's alleged that officials of the managing authority responsible for overseeing the use of the funds acted in breach of the principles of prudent asset management. It's understood that despite the fact that the information conveyed by employees of this management organisation was patently inaccurate or false, public officials of the management authority approved. You get the picture, folks. This isn't good. Really not very good at all. So, yeah, pretty painful situation in Greece. And I don't know what the way out of it is, really, because Greece has overwritten, this technical point is that Greece has overwritten that claim required for prosecution. Have overridden it because of a quirk in the law that means only state officials, only ministers can charge ministers. So, oh dear. Let's talk about something happy. Levenmouth progress. Because Leven is getting a station. In fact, the station is looking pretty close to completion. What's happening is they've got the signalling up and running. The tracks have been approved, so they can run trains on the Leven link now. Network Rail has commissioned the signalling system on the £116 Levenmouth rail link. There we are. That'll go onto my spreadsheet of projects for not very much length and quite a lot of money, meaning trains can use the line. Signalling successfully tested, brought into use, which means that drivers can develop their route knowledge. They can do testing. They can do platform checking and all sorts of good stuff. It's fab. It's good stuff. Leven link running. Happy days. Very, very pleased to see this progressing. In again, less happy international news is related to the Well, There's a Problem podcast that I was on quite a number of weeks. The podcast that kills you instantly. Translated from Spanish here, the immediate unconditional release of the railroad workers who, in their demand for answers, carried out protest action is demanded. Yes, that's right. So rail workers who've been pointing out all the problems, a bit like some of the ones we pointed out in the episode, that episode of Well, There's a Problem, have been protesting, and the Navy has presumably just gobbled them up and made them disappear, which is not good. Unconditional capture of unconditional. They need to be released, but basically they've all been detained for no good reason. Yeah, not good news. In the midst of this is a bloody HST, of course. Just like a bad smell will not go away. Yeah, are there any English rail, as Roz pointed out, are there any English rail sources pointing this out? Anyone investigating? Anyone in the UK actually investigating this? Or is there just a load of people going, "Oh, isn't it marvelous? Oh, isn't it stupid that Mexico can run our favourite trains? Isn't that marvelous?" That looks like a Mexican HST in City 125. Correct. That is an HST. It is indeed a Mexican HST. They have painted an HST. The rusting fiberglass remains of an HST. Frightening. With an enormous Buckeye coupler at the front. It's a strange situation. Anyway, no, as far as I can tell, absolutely no reporting on this in the railway press. As I don't know. Has Rail picked it up? Has Modern Railways picked it up? No. Lol, LMAO. Yes, the Basildon Canvey Southend Echo here pointing out the results of an investigation, a report that points out Thurrock Council has repeated this scheme, claiming it's of little benefit to the borough and has raised concerns over the loss of Greenbelt. But a report has pointed out that the Lower Thames crossing will only relieve congestion for 5 years. Yeah, because that's how induced demand works. Brief improvement, and then you induce a load of extra traffic in and it all gets clogged up again. Absolutely useless waste of money. This is just, if you're going to do a link, make it a rail link. This is. Yeah, it's funny. This is just standard road stuff. It's standard road stuff, and it just the roads continue getting built. No one cares. Just hopeless. Right. The current on this one is nope. Dale Vince here with also a paid blue tick. Lol. We don't need overhead lines of powered rails. This is Dale Vince, who is the head of Ecotricity. We don't need overhead lines of powered rails? ? And my annotation, by the way, and the incredible cost of electrification in the conventional sense, we just need trains that pull their own batteries. Great to see it start happening. Oh, man. I wish people who don't know things would stop having opinions, at least public ones. So this is related to the GWR kind of fast charge battery technology. There's more to tell about this story, and there's value in it, and obviously this is coming off the back of the Viva Rail collapse, and GWR kind of picked it up. But the Dale could not be more wrong. Good grief. And then I've got a load of battery bros coming in and saying, no, this is great. Batteries. Like, where do you think the material for these batteries is coming from? The whole point of electric railway is that you don't need all this extra complicated crap. You just have the wires. You run the train. The train AC electric locos are simple and easy. They work. They're good. Ugh. Anyway. Danger. Yeah, why danger? So Sam Jennings on Twitter, flowergirl_London. flowergirl_Lon on Twitter. Beware the next consultation reforms and the people around this table plotting to get rid of staff and turn up and go. Yeah, we're continuing. We have not won the battle on station staff and ticket offices yet. Here's Hugh Merriman spending time with the rail delivery group, of which we need to pay attention to, because the rail delivery group are clearly continuing to try and have an involvement in the railways, Pay attention to Jacqueline Starr. Why? Just pay attention to Jacqueline. Also, here's David Brown as well. RDG, useless organisation, shouldn't exist. But here's who men are meeting them, giving them the time of day, discussing their ongoing collaboration to reform and modernise the railway. That means break unions. And also the ticket office nonsense. And how we can work together to deliver for passengers and industry alike. Okay, well, we'll bear that in mind. But one of the key things they're doing is continuing to attempt to erode turn-up-and-go facilities for disabled people on the railways. They're just making accessibility worse. So sound very good to follow on that. Pay close attention. And the last bit of news. Is GBR dead? Because the Rail Reform Bill, the draft one, has landed for us to look at, which is exactly what we're going to be doing next week, of course. We can't avoid it. We're doing it next week. Let's see what the hell is going on with this thing. What we can do is me actually look at this, the link that came with this sort of thing, and actually have a look at it. What's going on here? What are we going to read? So this is first impression. You're going to experience it from me, and then we're going to wrap the episode up because it's gone a bit long. Sorry, everyone. Minister set out blueprint for future of the railways through draft rail reform bill. Draft bill sets out blueprint for bringing track and train together under a new Great British Railways. Okay. Leveraging private sector innovation to benefit customers. Okay. Leveraging private sector innovation to benefit customers. Yeah, no, that's not a thing. That we've had 30 years of that not working. So here we are. Draft rail reform bill. These are the bullet points. So the key things they think are important for us to understand as part of this bill. Number one, the bill has been published. The draft bill has been published. Key part of future railways. Okay, fine. Second bullet point. New proposals will leverage private sector innovation to deliver a better service overseen by Great British Railways. Why they mentioned private sector innovation again? It's like if they keep saying it, it'll become real. Action already underway to improve train travel, including pay-as-you-go ticketing and simpler fares pilot. Simpler fares pilot. Lol, that's the LNER thing. It's gone dreadfully. Oh, dear. Right, okay, so the draft rail reform bill, we're going to do this. We'll have a look through it in detail next episode. This is that since the end of nationalisation seen under British Rail, passenger numbers have doubled. Actually, that started happening before that, but anyway, as we've discussed many times in Rail Natter. And the quality of rolling stock has vastly improved. The counterfactual of British Rail continuing its programme of rolling stock renewals suggests to me that the situation is no different. And we've actually spent so much more on procuring the trains the way we have that we've definitely got fewer trains now than if we'd bought them a normal way. So it'd be interesting to explore that counterfactual. To meet the demands of a modern economy and society, we need our railways to be more responsive and more efficient. No, we don't. We need it to be bigger. You don't want a railway to be responsive. You want it to be reliable. You don't want it to be more efficient. You want it to be bigger. You want it to be higher capacity. These are not things. More responsive. No one wants their railway to be more responsive. They want it to just be there. They don't want a responsive railway. They want a reliable railway. They want to turn up and get on a train. Responsive is not a word I would use to describe railways, so more adaptive to technology. Okay, and innovation. Well, I mean, the railway does innovate in lots of ways, but what do they mean by this? What exactly do they mean by this? And to fully embrace the private sector and its benefits. Oh, right, I see. The reason that the privatisation hasn't worked so far is because we've not done it hard enough. Ah, I see. Ah, yeah, okay, yeah. So, as you can see, we're not off to a good start. We'll dig into this properly next week, but yeah, I'm not going to dwell on that. It's not starting well, folks, is it? Let's just tease to next week's episode. Oh my goodness me! So, I don't know. What do you think, folks? What do you think? There's a lot of news there. We've gone long. I need to do this and message this man who I'm going to speak to momentarily. Anyway, lots of lovely chat in here, of course, because before we talk about the Discord chat, we're going to get rid of my face and say, I'll chuck questions in, by the way. Gareth is saying, when will you accept that we're all here for it to run late? You don't have to apologise to us. Well, indeed. Right, so What else? Wish the bill would ditch the GBR name. Yeah, it's awful, isn't it? Just call it British Rail. Just call it British Rail. Anyway, right, that's enough of that. All good podcasting platforms. Please do drop. You don't have to pay for this. You don't have to support me on Patreon. It's your money. And there's less of it around these days in terms of private people, because the disadvantage of there being less public debt is that there's a lot more private debt. So that's fine. But what you can do is, for free, if you listen to this in podcasting format, drop a little review, say some stuff. It's always nice. I like that. Makes me feel very happy. Also bumps it up the algorithm, whatever that means. The usual plugs, patreon.com/Gareth Dennis for £1 a month. £1 a month, you can become a Patreon supporter. It's super cheap. Also, if you're a maniac and very kind, you know who I'm talking about, those of you watching right now, you can give me more than that. And I'm incredibly grateful for those people that do. You know who you are. I'm looking at you right now in the chat. GarethDennis.co.uk/merch for the merchandise. Keep buying that. Keep buying the... I still have not... This is bad of me. I need to collect the money that's been spent on the LGBTQ plus pride tea. Also, I need to improve it because I've thought of some new fun ideas. All of that will go to York LGBT Forum. PayPal.me/Gareth Dennis for loose change and abuse, and GarethDennis.co.uk/Discord for the chat continuing into the distant future. Yes. So, what about next week? Well, next week, you heard it first. As of today or yesterday's news, was it today or was it yesterday? I can't exactly remember. But Great British Railways. What is episode 207? What is to become of Great British Railways? Let's find out. Let's read the bill. We've got a Union flag as the background to this episode. That'll be a laugh. Anyway, right. So let's go big face, everyone. What else is going on? Yeah, just lots of tech bro brain, technology innovation, hydrogen and batteries. Yeah, it's just all bad news, isn't it? We're gonna have a read through the draft. It's gonna be interesting. There's also like a set of notes that have come with it. So there's all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah, Ina is absolutely right. Idea for a simpler fares pilot: do a €49 ticket for the UK railway system and deal with capacity issues by investing in electrification. Indeed, and the rest as well. It might be good getting some podcasts going about the issues in Germany sometime. It sounds like quite the mess generally. Future UK railway now, but UK having higher fares. Oh, there's so much fun stuff I've got to. Once the book is out. There's some seriously fun stuff that I'll be able to pick out in you for episodes. So there's some interesting research I did in there that I can't wait to talk more about. Please do a Lego episode sometime. A Lego episode? Oh, the Lego flag. Yeah, that was just a PowerPoint filter to make the background a bit more interesting than just a regular ass 3D render of a flag. Right. Anyway, everyone, it's 21:28. Far too late. I've got to phone a friend, and I will see you all next week. Everyone. Cheerio! Cheerio!